and welcome to All Things Hawaii 1. And for tonight, All Things Ghosts. Before I started doing this channel with food reviews, for those of you that have been around a long time, you know that this channel was called Ghosts of Hawaii. And today, while the rain came down, I started thinking about them, about the ghosts here in Hawaii. Matter of fact, it was raining so hard and there was so much wind blowing. I thought of the night marchers, because it is said on certain nights when these legendary marchers come out, especially when it is a night of gods and the procession travels, the wind picks up and the rain comes and they clear a path for their procession. I used to do this a lot. As a matter of fact, I used to do occasional ghost tours as well. So tonight I thought, with this rainy weather that we have outside, that I would share 2 ghost stories with you. If you're new to the channel, then you've never heard these stories before. And if you're someone that's been around for a while, well, all of you, why don't you take a trip back in time with this talk in the dark? Gather around, all of you. Grab a seat, get comfortable. Maybe grab something to drink. Oh, you know me. I'm a foodie too. Why don't you grab yourself something to eat? And let's talk about ghosts. Tonight I will be sharing maybe 2 or 3 stories with all of you. The first one I wanted to tell you about, and mostly has to do with perhaps the most haunted place on the island of Oahu. And I say that sincerely because I have met them at that particular location back in the days when I used to do the paranormal. And by the way, there's a cat in my room, so if you hear him meow, he wouldn't leave. I closed the door. He took a risk by staying here. If he makes enough noise, I'll let him out. But such are cats, right? They do what they want to do. I even have stories about cats. Anyway, let's do one that doesn't have to do with this one particular location that I will be talking about tonight. This first story had to do with visits that we used to make to a place my father used to always tell me about. And this was up in Manoa. In Manoa, my dad had run across many scary things, and he was willing to share all of them. As a matter of fact, he would say at night sometimes, "Hey, come on, guys, let's get in the car. We're going riding." And I know every time my dad would say, "Oh, we're going riding," we're always going to end up in Manoa. We're always going to drive around. And we're always going to go to like one particular location, which I've shared stories about, by the way. But we are talking about Manoa because not only did he share stories about it, but I've been through to some of the most famous locations. I've actually invited people because I was lucky enough to have a connection to go and visit certain places. And one of those places was the old Manoa Chinese cemetery. And that one always drew me in as well, too. And there's just something about rain. And we're talking about rain tonight. When we talk about rain, we're talking about Manoa. Manoa get plenty rain, right? Always get rain in Manoa. So yeah, we're going to talk about that place right now. So I was there one night. And when I go to visit ghosts, I always make sure that they know, hey, I am in their hale. I had a kumuhula tell me that before. It's like, hey, when you go visit, if you going visit, let them know that you're in their home. So yeah, there's protocol when you go and visit certain places. And we were up at Paradise Park. And for those of you that are in the know, you know how haunted that place is. There are so many stories, and it's so rich in its experiences that I can only single out one for you guys tonight. And why did I pick this story? It's quite simple. If you're here in Hawaii right now, you hear the howling winds outside. As a matter of fact, it was so loud this morning that it woke me up. And I had to check the weather. I'm like, oh, it's going to be one of those days. And sure enough, I believe that it's probably happening up there tonight. That voices are in the dark, footsteps and everything else that you would associate with spirits. And on this one particular night, we had gone all the way up into Paradise Park. And we were looking around, and I have to tell you, we were having experiences because you are in their home. And you are going to have a response, especially even if you are very courteous, even if you let these spirits know that you're in their home, they will let themselves get as close to you as possible, and they will send their own message to you, whether they want you to be there or not. And to be honest, one of the reasons why I gave up the paranormal is because I found out that a lot of the times these spirits want to be left alone. When I was working on a website years ago, if any of you remember this website, it was called Haunted Hawaii. I was talking to the creator of that site. I used to interview guests for her. And one night she tells me, of all the places that I've been to, because she likes to visit spirits as well, but she does it in her own unique way. She says, Manoa is a place of mystery. It really, truly is. I've been there before with people. And in one particular night, we heard this old woman talking to us in the bushes. And then all of a sudden, we were surrounded by what I saw on my camera, these huge red orbs. And it came to find out that we were being surrounded by some Hawaiian warriors. But because a person that was with us was gifted in seeing and speaking to these ghosts, they were able to, well, that person was able to tell them that we come in peace. And then we were left to leave that location. And we were lucky to leave. From what she described, she said these spirits were about 9 to 10 feet tall. She explained that when people pass away, or these Hawaiian spirits pass, especially if they're warriors, then their energy will manifest themselves in a very powerful vision. So imagine that you're up there and there are spirits that are surrounding you. They're about 9 or 10 feet tall. Not a good thing, right? Again, we were lucky to leave. But in this one particular night, when we had gone visiting up in Manoa Valley, eventually we had decided to call it a night. It wasn't the most active night. So we had turned around and we had gone down the trail. And we came out into the opening that goes up to Manoa Falls Trail. We came back down and we were standing on the outside of the entryway. And that's when we found out sometimes they will let you know. Oh, they will let you know in a way that will stay with you for the rest of your life. You will never forget any moment of what happened. And sure enough, that was the case. Because you see, we used to bring cameras with us, because I just mentioned to you that when we saw these spirits on one occasion, there were these giant red orbs around us. So imagine that you're taking photos. You hear a woman in the you hear the woman in the bushes, and she's making loud noises. And even the person that could see ghosts were saying, "Oh, the reason why she's making noise is because she doesn't know what those lights are. She doesn't know what that is. So she just wanted to know." So anyway, my friend takes out his camera. Trust me, we do learn, but sometimes impulse will take over. So sometimes we're not that wise. And that's how we learn, right? Is when the spirits correct us. So my friend starts taking pictures in the dark and he's snapping photos. And then all of a sudden he stops and he's holding his camera in front of him. And he goes, I see one. So something like that, because this was years ago. I see one. I see a ghost. I go, what you talking about? He goes, come here, come here. I want you to look. So I look in his viewfinder, and what I see is what looks like white glowing energy, like a blob of energy. And it shouldn't be there because it's pitch black. And that should not be there. And then all of a sudden you feel it. You feel the if you're watching on the mainland or if you're here in Hawaii, you feel chicken skin. And you feel that chicken skin crawl up your arm. And you know all of a sudden that things have changed and not for the better because now you are being schooled by spirits. They are here to teach you a lesson. And we are in the midst of that lesson with these ghosts. Because as he started to take pictures, more and more of them would show up. And then all of a sudden, my friend is already, when you get evidence and you're taking pictures and you get ghosts, energy or apparitions, you go through a lot of feelings. You're amazed that you got evidence, but at the same time, you're terrified. And my friend was going through that mixture of emotions. And then all of a sudden, he stops, the camera goes down, and his face gets really pale, kind of pale. My friend was not ready for this situation. And he starts reaching behind him. And then he says in a loud voice, they're grabbing my crucifix. And they did. He was wearing a crucifix because you bring protection with you. And we're both spiritual people. And he's saying they're yanking on my cross. They're pulling on the chain. And he's like reaching behind him, saying this, and he's panicking. And why do I share this story with all of you tonight? Why am I sharing it? Even though I've said it before on ghost tours and everything else, other people, they share their stories too. But why this one? Why share this story with all of you tonight on this windy night? And that's because in the back of the valley behind us, it sounded like a hurricane. It really, truly did. There was wind and it was howling and it was roaring and it was coming down the trail, coming right at us. We heard a tree get just blasted and knocked down. Boom, it hit the ground. And we're like turning around and we're looking into this dark, this living dark at that point. And all of a sudden, we're not thinking about pictures of white energy or whatever was out there. We are just terrified. We turn around. My friend can't. That's the thing too. My friend can't run because he had problems with his legs. He had like a walking cane with him. But we're trying our best. We're leaving and we hear the wind coming up behind us. And as the wind is coming, we start to hear voices in the wind. We start to hear ancient chants and everything that you would expect that has to do with a sign of the past coming to visit you right now. And we are going as fast as we can. We're going towards the treetop restaurant, just going and going in the dark. And then we're terrified because that wind is traveling so fast. And then of all things, it was amazing. It did not try to overtake us. It did not try to knock us off our feet. It stayed right behind us. And that was the lesson. That was the lesson that these spirits were showing us on that night a long time ago in Manoa with the voices in the wind that came after us. By the time we had reached the treetop restaurant, by the time we saw some lights and we were feeling safe, the wind stopped, the voices stopped, and we were left in complete awe. Such are the ghosts of Hawaii. And I mean that. I absolutely mean that. And I have to say, when I was hearing the winds blowing outside today on this wet and rainy night, that's exactly what I thought of. I thought of that one night when that happened. Story number one. Let's go on to the next tale. This story has to do with a very infamous road here in Hawaii, and I'm sure a lot of people know about it. And that road has to do with the old Pali Drive. So many stories are embedded within that place, just as much as those spirits are just embedded into the environment, into the atmosphere. It is actually said, someone shared it me back in the day when I did do Ghosts of Hawaii. Someone sent me a message via Facebook, and they explained that at night you can hear noises in the trees and everything. It's not just the these old ancient trees. They're not just creaking because of the wind, but because of something else. So let me fill in what was told to me with all of you listening tonight. The reason why you would hear voices up in the trees at night up at the old Pali Drive is because that place is known for the Battle of Nu'uanu, especially up at Judd Trail. You will hear stories about them. We have encountered spirits up there as well. Trust me, some people might rush to the comments section and go, "You were not being respectful." It's a situation where you had to be there. You would have to know why some people actually started doing this type of work. I have a whole history with ghosts and everything else. And we are respectful when we go there. We follow protocol. We know the history. We understand the bravery of the spirits who fought for what they believed in. Trust me to the last letter of what I say to you tonight. We show protocol and respect. But when you go up there, the reason why you hear the branches moving around in the dark is because there are spirits that are looking for the leaping point. There is several places from what I hear on Oahu. One of them is out at Kaiana Point, where spirits leap off this rock and into the underworld. So these spirits that have perished in battle are up in the trees and they're looking around. Where do we leap off into the underworld? Where do we join our ancestors? Where do we join them? And people will go up there at night. These are people that are part of their family, and they would talk to the spirits and try to guide them back to the place where they belong. And that right there is aloha. And that right there is pure love. Thank you for the likes, by the way. I see we have 11 people watching tonight. It's good to have you all here. But anyway, this particular story has to do with one place, and it's not Morgan's Corner. I have lots of stories about Morgan's Corner, especially with Therese Wilder and the murder up there, and meeting those spirits and actually seeing them. That in itself is an amazing thing, because if you try to look up the murder of Therese Wilder, everyone talks about the haunting up at Morgan's Corner. You're not going to find many stories about seeing her or the other spirits that were involved in that. But because I had shown an interest in this and wanting to maybe find a way to resolve the situation, although you know what, that's just taking a risk, right? I had encounters with them as well. But this story has nothing to do with Morgan's Corner. If you're with me right now, then we're taking a little tour. We've gone up the hairpin turn. We've gone up past the hairpin turn. We're going and we're approaching Judd Trail. That in itself has many stories, too many to tell tonight. And we're going even further up. And when we're going to, especially for you people that have lived here all of your life, you know about the old Lily Pond. You know about that place. And if you were to go up there at night, it's very quiet. And why we would go up there is because of one particular person that I admire with all my heart, and that is the late, great Glenn Grant. You see, on Sunday nights, because this is a Sunday night with rain and wind going on outside, and I'm sure the spirits are out there wandering around in the midst of this. There's even a reason why it is said that spirits are active in this type of weather conditions. But we would go up there on Sunday nights because you see, Glenn Grant had something called Chicken Skin, the radio show. I was lucky and I am very honored to have been a guest on his show as well. I had shared a story about Kapa'akoi Road and night marchers, and it's a long story, and I rarely share that now, but I did share it for Glenn because I used to go and see his show in Waikiki. And so I was a guest on his show. So I loved Glenn. I loved his books. I loved everything about this man, his TV shows, you name it. I was all over it. I used to bring him gifts and everything too, just to show my appreciation. But we would go up to this lily pond late at night. And before we would go up there, we just buy some pizzas and everything and some sodas, and we just hop in the car and we drive up there. And some nights you go up there, and again, you're talking about the weather, it's just like a lot of fog. There's just thick mist as you go up there. And then you pull over at this one place up at the old lily pond, and we would park the car and we would listen. We'd turn on the radio. Glenn would come on. Lopaka would be there as well. And it was magic, truly chicken skin, just like the name of his radio show. And you would listen to all these amazing stories. And once in a while, we'd call Glenn, and Glenn would pick up the phone and he would say, "Hey, so where are you guys tonight?" And we'd say, "Oh, well, we're up at Old Polly Drive. We're up by the lily pond." And he was like, "No way." He said, "Yeah, we're up there. We're listening to you, Glenn." And then I would explain, hey, who I was and everything too. But anyway, we would be up there. And sometimes it was funny because we're listening to stories and there's fog and rain and everything else. Perfect weather, right, to listen to ghost stories. Once in a while, the police would stop by and they go, "Hey, what you guys doing in there?" "Oh, we're listening to Glenn Grant and eating pizza, and we got soda." And then the police officer, I know he's doing his job. I respect HBD to the max. And he would shine his flashlight in and he would look inside the car, and all he would see was pizza and soda. So that was I guess he thought we were smoking Pacololo or doing something crazy. But here's the story that I wanted to share with you guys. And it's a very endearing, and I'll read your, if anyone is going to be talking in the comment section, I'll read what you have to say. But anyway, we were going up there all the time, and one night while we were up there, this figure comes out of the dark and starts walking towards us, and I'm like, "Oh no, what's wrong?" Because it's coming from the lily pond itself, and I'm thinking, "Hey, I don't like any problems, no problems tonight, please, no problems." Anyway, the person comes up to us and turns on a flashlight and go, "Oh no, we busted for some reason. I don't know what we busted for except eating pizza and drinking soda and listening to Glenn Grant share ghost stories." This guy shines his flashlight and he wanted to know who we were. So I got out of the car, and this was before I even did work up there in that area with the paranormal. And I said, "Hi, we're just here listening to Glenn." I had to tell the same story again, right? Just listening to Glenn, having pizza and everything. And then after a few moments, he listens and he goes, okay, okay. Well, you know what? If you guys like, let me tell you what I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to let you guys into this one place, okay?" So he lets us in, and we drive our car, and we're like really into this one area, like near the lily pond, like, you're not supposed to even be there. And so this guy explains to us that his name is Robert. And he says, "I'm the security guard for this place." And Robert started to have conversations with us. And he was really happy that there was somebody there, because he's like, "You know something? I come up here, I work up here, but guess what? They don't send anyone else but me. And I'm up here in the dark. I have no transportation, no nothing. They drop me off and I'm here." So I said, "Hey, Robert, hey, you know what? If you don't mind, you want some pizza, my friend? You want some soda? You want to listen to Glenn Grant with us? You can do that." So Robert would just be happy that someone was there with him in the dark, up in one of the most haunted places on the island. And so we parked our car, in this one little area that you could. It looked like a little garage, and we parked the car in there, and we'd listen to ghost stories, and then we'd talk after. And then Robert said, "Hey," he pointed off into the distance. He said, "You see that one trail over there? You see him? You see the trail?" And we're like, "Yeah, we see the trail." He goes, "Whatever you do, I mean, if you like, you can walk down, because I'm guarding the place. You can walk down if you like. But I gotta tell you right now, I gotta tell you, I wouldn't. And he would explain why. He says, well, it's part of my duty, right? I got to turn on my flashlight. I got to check all these areas, make sure there's no trespassers or anything. And I got to walk down this trail. And he would walk down this trail and he would see figures in the dark walking around. And imagine if you're by yourself, you're a security guard, and you have a flashlight and there's nothing else that you can do but witness what's going on. You probably don't even want to shine your flashlight on whatever's walking around in the dark down there. And he goes, it's up to you guys. Okay. Brother, it's up to you. If you guys like walk down there, you walk down there. But I'm letting you know right now, it's not a good idea. So you know what, Lolo, right? We walked down there and we felt stuff, but honestly, we never see anything. But let me tell you something that connects to what Robert saw. So I remember I was talking to this person many years ago, and he shared a story about this place. So let me share this story with you. It's a very interesting story. So there was this guy, back in the 70s and 80s, you would go into Waikiki and you would go to the nightclubs and you'd meet the Wahinis, you'd meet the girls and everything, and you try to impress them and you do whatever, you have some drinks and have fun. But once in a while, and I know this, I understand this because guess what? I was one of those dudes, man. It's like, hey, you want to impress the ladies, right? So what you do is after you go out and after you drink, maybe you go get something to eat. Like how I do the food reviews. You go to some of these places and you eat and you hang out and you laugh, and then somebody got to say something like, hey, you know something? I know this one place, and that always leads to trouble, right? Hey, I know this one place that's spooky. So that's what this guy was doing with these ladies that night. Hey, I know this one place that's scary. I know this one place that we can go and check out. So, and he shared this story because I think I was talking about Robert, and he's like, hey, I got this story to share with you. That's what I love about Hawaii. People are like, hey, I got a story to share with you. So he told me this story. He's like, yeah, we took these ladies, we jumped in a car, and we drove up Old Pali Drive at night. If you drive up that road, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, you brave, but that doesn't mean you should be there. I learned my lessons. I got my experiences to prove it. And but people would drive up there, and if you've been up there, you turn on your lights because pitch black, yeah. All you see on either side of the road is all the trees, right? You look up above you, you see those branches of the stories that I told you about the warriors that are on the branches up there, looking for that place to leap off and go into the underworld, right? And you see the everything, and the dark is alive. You can feel it. It's inescapable. Even if you never been up Old Pali Drive before, like say you're a tourist or something, you ended up that road, you'd be like, oh geez, man, we better get out of here as quick as we can because get stuff. And yeah, get. So they would drive up the road and they went up to the lily pond. And guess what? They decided to play like they was tadan tadan, which means, oh yeah, I'm all brave. I'm gonna get out of the car with these ladies and we're gonna show them that, oh yeah, this place is scary, but you don't need to be scared because you get some tough guys with you, right? Oh, you get some tough guys with you tonight. So they got out of the car and they're looking around. And back then never have Robert, right? I met Robert in the 90s. So you're out there and you're walking around, you're checking it out. You're like, hey, don't no need to be scared. There's nothing here. But guess what? Down that same trail that Robert said, hey, no go down there. Okay. Just don't go down there because he's seen things down there. And as they're looking down this same trail at a different time than, we had experienced things, they see a figure slowly start to walk up the trail. And then all that boasting and all that, hey, you know something, no need worry. We got you. We got you guys. No need be scared about nothing. And that figure is getting closer. And that figure is by itself. And all of a sudden, it's quiet. The ladies are terrified. The guys don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They're like, oh, I never expect this. I mean, I'm over here to impress the ladies and everything, and maybe they were so scared they wanted to hide behind the ladies. I don't know. But this figure is walking up, and then it starts to glow. And this figure that's walking up to them looks like it was from someone in the 1800s wearing that type of clothing, and kept walking closer and closer to them, to finally they got so scared, man. They got back in that car, and it's like, something? You hear stories about this all the time in Hawaii. Sometimes you get in your car and your car no like stop. I experienced that myself up in this area. But they was lucky, and they would peel out. And it's exactly the way I said it, is exactly how they left that area. So how's that? Two different situations that come together, and they share an experience that is almost identical. And here's the thing too. We used to make jokes about that. One night when we came up there to listen to Glenn and see Robert the guard, he wasn't there anymore. And we used to make jokes. It's like, what if Robert wasn't real? What if Robert was one of those ghosts? Because you don't know, right? You can never tell. But I think Robert had had enough. And he was like, you know what? You either transfer me or, goodbye, aloha. I have to say this one thing about that, though. Maybe it was a little bit later than the 1800s, because one night we had gone up to Judd Trail down the road, and I had my digital recorder on, and I was recording. And at the end of the night, in the dark, there was this voice that came out from nowhere. And in a very deep voice, it said, Morgan. You know what? Let me tell all of you that decided to stop by tonight and listen to this very special episode of All Things Hawaii 1. Morgan's Corner is right there. The estate of Dr. James Morgan is right there in that area, not that far down the road. You go down the road, there's a flashing yellow light. That's Jackass Ginger. Yeah, I get stories about that place too. Fun in the daytime, not fun at night. Morgan's Corner. And that is connected with Therese Wilder and that haunting. So you know what? I think to myself, what if these bananas that went up there to try to play like they superhero ran across Dr. James Morgan? Maybe for some reasons, because we cannot really truly understand and figure out all these ghosts. Maybe for some reason he was walking up that trail. And these people who thought that they were all that and a bag of chips found out you don't even have that going for you. And such is that place. And yeah, we would go up there, and like I said, a lot of times it would be raining. There'd be fog. Perfect for ghost stories, yeah. Perfect. And that's what it was like. You know what? These lessons stay with you. They don't leave you. And if you're smart, you take heed and you respect. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight, guys. 2 ghost stories about rain and wind and ghosts. And now let me go and check out your comments. I think there's 2 of them. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Oh, hi. Aloha. Welcome, everyone. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. for more wonderful content, including the spooky, the spooky food reviews and Zen videos, all highlighting the beauty of Hawaii. Day one, I would quit. Yeah, you know something. That's how these places are. Yeah, they like I said, the people who live here, they totally get it. You know, like if they're watching tonight or tomorrow or whenever they decide to watch, because you know me, Aloha, I leave this up. Yeah, I always leave up my live streams. They get it. They understand. They're like, yeah, you know something. You should. Nighttime, no bother. Just let these spirits go about their business, especially if it's really, really active, because I've experienced everything from ghosts to menahunis and all of that stuff, all up in that area too. And there's so much to say about that. But for like people like Aloha and such, they are my moderators. They've been here when it was Ghosts of Hawaii. They know the crazy stuff. They seen the live streams and everything else. They've heard things come out of spirit boxes, and I've had guests on this channel too. And I'm thinking if you guys like, I mean that's up to you, but I can see what I did was when I switched the channel over to All Things Hawaii 1, I kind of like put all of those videos on pause. And I'm thinking, you know what? Halloween time, why not bring them all back? All the interviews and everything else. So I'm thinking about doing that too. And then every once in a while, you know what I'm saying? Because it's if you want to look at the channel's description, it'll say that there is paranormal elements to it. As a matter of fact, the other day we went to Straub Cafe, and I told you guys the story of what happened with that particular cemetery. So yeah, every once in a while, you know, you just kind of give it that mixed plate feeling, right? You go with that. So you get the food reviews, you get these surprise live streams as well. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. And you know what's interesting? The wind kind of stopped. I don't hear the, I mean, I'm sure the wind is out there, but it kind of stopped. I'm not saying because it's me, no way, but it kind of stopped. But I was hearing the wind blowing and the rain, and I said, oh man, I gotta at least, you know, hop on and do this for everybody out there. So hopefully you like this. And every once in a while, I'll probably be doing something with the paranormal. I know Friday the 13th is coming up, but I'm not sure if I will actually do stuff because I did a Friday the 13th live stream once and it was up in that area and it was scary. Anyway, guys, thank you for being here. Look forward to some more food reviews, you know, because I'm so happy that I was able to do that, you know, switch things around because the dark is the dark. And if you get too involved in it, it can, you know, pull you in too deep. And I needed to just bring happiness back into my life. And, you know, I'll tell you this much too before telling you guys have a good night. And, you know, to me, I'm a survivor of it. I really truly am. So I'm glad now I can show you guys food and Zen videos and all that. I know Aloha understands. She's one of my moderators. She gets it. She totally gets it. I needed to get some Zen into my life and you know some really big happy moments and I'm very grateful. And I'm grateful for all of you. Yeah, like, share and subscribe. As a matter of fact, oh my goodness gracious, let me tell you, I am so happy people are tuning in, they're watching. People like Aloha, who is my moderator again, they know I like to do things just right there in the moment. You know, I'm not into fancy intros or editing because I think the human experience should be shared, you know, very much connected without much anything getting into involved with the situation. So if I take you somewhere for food, bang, we're right there, we're filming, we're going to talk about how happy we are, we're going to talk about the places that we visit and you know, like without any scripts. Like tonight when I told you the ghost story, I wasn't sitting here with a flashlight reading like, oh, and this story and that. No, from my heart, right? From my heart, I share with all of you. So like, share, and subscribe. And if you like this kind of content as well, let me know. But, you know, I will always be once in a while doing this for you guys. I will be giving you these surprise, I call it bonus live streams or bonus videos. So consider that this to be one of them. If you've been around for a long time, you know how I do things too. So I hope you all have a good night, and I hope it doesn't pick up with the wind and the rain because, man, I don't know about some of you folks out there, but the power went out for a while. So I wouldn't want the power to go out after sharing these stories with you. I would not want that to happen. Although, I got some flashlights and everything from the days when I used to go visiting haunted locations and such. But you all have yourself a good night. You guys stay safe. I return you to whatever you were doing before you saw my notification, and have a good evening. Let's have a good week as well, and I will try to get as much videos as I can out to all of you. Thank you so much. I mean, there's been a lot of new subscribers, and there's a lot of people tuning in and watching, and mahalo. I appreciate it. I used to go by the name of Obaki Hunter, in case any of you are wondering about that. And yeah, who knows? Maybe Obaki Hunter, that persona side of me, may return at some point. But for now, I'm very happy to not be in these places. Trust me. Man, I mean, I actually scared myself telling these stories. So you guys have a good night. I will talk to you all soon. All things Hawaii One. Stay blessed. God bless. A hui ho. And I'll see you in the next episode. Good night, Obaki, everyone. God bless. Same to you, aloha. Have a very good night. And mahalo for you all tuning in. You guys are the bomb. I appreciate it. And if you don't mind me saying, let your friends know, like and subscribe, all of that. And I will catch you in the next episode. Take care. Mahalo